All right, all right, all right. Sorry for a few of the technical slowdowns, but I would like to say good day, good day, good day, and welcome each of you to another entry of All for Success, where we are here to be a Sussex friendly space, especially in these times, and to talk about maybe something else or throw a thing in, something different in every now and then. But I'm glad that all of you are here this morning, and I hope you are enjoying yourselves this weekend. I gotta say, as I am getting started, folks, what a difference just a couple of days will make in the current lifestyles that we live, where news and information is flowing out of a hose heavily like water from a fire hydrant. It's just constantly gushing at us. So, with that being said, what we'll do is we'll talk about a couple of things that have been going on. And I know that everyone who is Sussex aware has been watching what is also going on in the UK at large, because you basically can't have one without the other, right? Unfortunately, the UK tabloid media put it together that way. So we'll get to that. And I would like to say good morning. Now get your coffee ready if that's what you're going to do, to sit down and relax. Or if you're someone who's going to be out and about getting your activity in at the same time, that would be great. So if you're out doing your walk or doing any type of workout or even running errands, this is a great time to just kind of tune out what you're doing and tune into what we're chatting about. That should keep you interested in getting your walk on or keeping your pace. So just remember that. But for those of you who are going to sit back and have a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, this is a good time. So let's settle in. Also, leave in the chat below any of your physical um, challenges or physical journeys that you have been on, especially things you've accomplished over the past week. I'll usually put up what I've done, and this week I was a little slow. I only did walking. I had a day yesterday. I did not feel like going in the gym. I don't know why, but I was just so tired. But anyway, I'll put a note about that in the chat a little bit later. So we're going to be taking a look at, let's see, my perspective of the past week. But but before we get into all of the interconnected shenanigans that we have all been viewing, I always like to point out to you what it is that perhaps might be going on in the background, even if I don't get it right. I like to point out some of my thoughts and theories, right? So that we have a focus also on how we are looking at the events that we are seeing. You know, I've got to tell you, it's very important to me to try and impart other people how much we are being, I'm going to say, massaged, manipulated, or things like that. But I'm going to try to soften it and say, perhaps you're being nudged or massaged. There are certain types of reactions and behaviors that, for whatever reason, those who are in power, let's say, there are certain types of things and reactions that they would like to see from we the people, right? Now, I don't use that term lightly. When I say we the people, I mean, of course, all of us who are living our day-to-day lives. We're getting up, we're going to work, we're shopping, we're going to buy groceries, we're taking care of family members, we're doing different types of jobs, and we're working things in details. We're either providing services for people, or periodically we are purchasing services from people. And so, in this great wide world we live in, it is, of course, in the interest of those who benefit from what we do. It is, of course, a benefit to them to always be able to slightly nudge you in the right direction, which would be their direction, for whatever reaction they're trying to get from you. Okay, so we'll go through, we'll keep our mind, keep our eye on that thought process from those who are, let's use the terms leadership, or those who are in control, or for those who are the money movers in this world, right? Those who are movers of large masses of financial resources. So, of course, to those layers, leadership, financial masters, um, then of course there is a certain attitude, behavior, and reaction that, of course, is always preferred from we the people. Okay? So I always say, keep that thought when you are looking at and viewing what is happening in the world around you. It's very important. All right, so I'm just going to talk about a few things. I've got to tell you guys on this technical piece of trying to understand how to present. I am still an infant in this realm, and I tried to copy the logo from Megan's new website, because I want you all to know. Please understand, Megan. We're going to talk a little bit more about what they are doing, because Megan has been on the move. So recently she was on South by Southwest, and South by Southwest is an enormous forum for people who are networking, or people who are presenting new ideas, or they're trying to pitch things that they have coming up in the future. And so South by Southwest was an excellent forum for her to attend, as she talked about how women are viewed on television shows. And of course, that makes sense in the realm of what she was working as an actress. And South by Southwest is a huge forum for that. There are a lot of people there, a lot of people in the business. And so having conversations with those people makes perfect sense. And that's what she was doing. So Megan, right? She was moving forward and doing projects that are near and dear to her, correct? Doesn't that make sense? Okay, I thought so. All right, likewise, she also presented, now the logo does not look so nice, but she also was presenting, and they did like a quick, I would say, preview of the website that will be up and coming. And it's called American Riviera Orchid. Now, that's a long name, it is. But of course, because it's a Megan type of lifestyle and her interest, it's probably going to be a website that will be filled with a lot of nice, wonderful things to buy as gifts or to give as treats. And of course, if you have an eye or a flair for what is very stylish, I always think of this in terms of folks who like to decorate from Town and Country magazine, right? The ladies who have the doilies and they have the place settings, and they know that that you put gold rings on the napkins, and then you put the silverware to the side. And I have to admit, I am not skilled in that area, but when it's beautiful, I know that it's beautiful. When I see it, I know, gee, that's beautiful. And of course, Megan has always been a person who has had an interest in all of these wonderful niche or cottage industries, is what I would call them. And so I am assuming, based on how her TIG was, the Instagram presence that she had in the past, it would occur to me that she would probably be doing a more broad expansion of that same concept, with all of the wonderful linens and jams and jellies and the different types of things that she loves to help people produce and produce herself, because she's very much a very naturalist type of person. And when I see Ms. Doria and I hear a little bit about Ms. Doria's background, I can see that that makes perfect sense, right? So she's a very close to the earth kind of person. And I thought that that was wonderful for her to talk about, because that also was something that was launched in the past week. Excellent presentation. And again, Megan is doing what Megan does. She loves to embark upon these endeavors and to bring as many other people in her circle along with her as she is doing this work. So I thought that was brilliant. Another thing that she was seen at and that they were photographed talking about, Harry and Meghan also attended what was called the Art Appreciation Kinsey Collection. This was held in California, SoFi Stadium. I think that's what they renamed the stadium in Los Angeles. So they had a wonderful setup of all of these various um, art objects that have been collector items and some things produced by new artists. And so Harry and Meghan were there to present and open that wonderful forum. So it gives the artists who are up and coming an opportunity to, again, intermingle, network, and even offer their art for viewing or for sale. It was a very excellent, very intuitive type of event, and it was definitely one that spoke to those in that artistic environment, which Megan, of course, is very, very keen on because she's very artistic herself. Um, Her skill in calligraphy is quite phenomenal. I was amazed looking at some of the letters that she has produced, handwritten letters. I can barely sign my own signature, but it was phenomenal to see some of her calligraphy, the stylism, and the accuracy of her actual writing work. It's brilliant. And so she's very artistic. And of course, that means she's very supportive of artists in her area. And so it was really lovely. And I think a lot of people there were shocked and surprised that Harry and Meghan actually came to this event. And they gave a very short speech and they spoke to some people and they met a couple of really lovely up and coming artists. It's what they love. Of course, it makes sense to them. So again, this is also something that they were doing this week, and it was very lovely and elegant, elegantly put, right? Okay, so those are things also happening this week. This gentleman here, now, again, back in the same vein, while they were also doing the artistic endeavor there at SoFi Stadium, there is a screenwriter that was featured, and his name is, I believe, MOS Coello. And I don't know what his work is currently, but his story is one of, coming from what he would consider a very meager background, struggling to make it. And I believe he kind of worked through Brazil. And he talked about his struggles and how he came to get involved and working as a screenwriter. And so he was also featured there at that wonderful exhibit. Now, aren't these all lovely things? They're just lovely. And all of these things were going on this week. And Harry and Meghan were participating and joining in all of these wonderful, uplifting, positive, especially supportive of the youth, yes, because this is what they love to do. Now, I'm going to let you all marinate on that. And that's just a handful of things that they love to do and the type of things that they're featured in. And of course, We'll save Invictus because that's going to come up as that adventure gets ready to take off. But we'll get back to that. Now, I want you to marinate on those wonderful positive things. And while you do that, I'm going to, of course, remind everybody, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Yes, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe down here in my wonderful video as I launch in on my video. And I thank all of you for being here. Let's see who's here in the meantime. Oh, we have, thank you so much, Joyce Anderson. Yay, I'm so glad you made it. Thank you for being here. And I tell you, you guys, it makes me almost cry when I see the support from many of you as you come in and you spend a little bit of time with me in the morning. So I hope I don't bore you to tears, but I am excited every time I see someone show up. Thank you, Joyce, and good Saturday to you as well. So I see my comments, and then I'm asked here. Let's see. Okay, this is asking about things that I'll be doing as I get it together. And it's, how people have PayPal and they take what do you call it, super chats, and they get all types of monetization. I haven't quite figured all that out yet. So I don't post all that stuff yet, but I'm working on it. I'm getting there. And as my crowd grows, as my subscriber list begins to grow, I think I'll be eligible for more of that. Now, I do have, most of the time, I do put in my chats like cash apps where things can be dropped, or I think I have a PayPal address in there too. I'm not sure if it's on this one, this chat, but eventually I will get that together and start making sure it makes sense when I deliver it. So thank you so much, King Four Concepts, for the question. I love that, Kate. Anytime you put a four in, I love it. So thanks for the question, but I'm going to get it together. I promise you. It's just like working on the volume here. Also, we have this morning, Joe Mays. Yay, Joe Mays. Thank you for being here. And good morning to you. Once again, I promised I'm not going to keep everybody all morning. I just wanted to go over a couple of things, what they call a handful of notes. And I always want to bring everybody's attention to. Let's see what we're seeing in the media and what it might mean. So, Joe Mays, thank you so much for your support. You don't know what it means to have someone show up and show out. Thank you. Yes. Also, we have Raphaela Bertoni. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Thank you. And good morning. Happy Saturday to you. Yes. Thank you so much also for being here. I'm so glad that you guys are joining in. I love it. I absolutely love it. So we're going to have some fun and we're going to continue on it. And of course, like I said, you all have a great morning, but you better keep your hard work up as well. It's important. And Joanne Baker, some of these names, I'm like, yeah, I see these names. You guys are in the big squad league. Thank you. And she's so pink and waving. I love that. Thank you for the waving and thank you for your support. I appreciate it. I'm not sure if that's all the folks I got. Let's see who else we have here. Am I missing anybody? Am I missing anybody? And we'll get to maybe comments and things like that also a little bit later down the line. LLAA, thank you and good morning. Good morning and thank you for being here. You got, like I tell you guys, you just don't know. Y'all just don't know what it feels like. It's like having a party and everybody's at the party. Now, please forgive me also because as I learn how to fumble around on some of these sites that I work with, guys, you would be in shock and awe at how quickly I can make a mistake and lose my place, and I don't know how to get back to where I was. It's an amazing nightmare sometimes. But we're gonna keep at it and see if we can keep going. But that is where so I'll hold up and then I'll go back and do a few more as time goes on, as time permits. So here's where we were. So the last thing we were doing is we were looking at, right, some of the things that Meghan and Harry have been doing over the weeks, or the, let's say, week to 10 days, and some of the wonderful they've been participating in, and all of this, I would say, positive and uplifting behavior that has been going on. and all of the wonderful, wonderful things that they did, right? And isn't that great? And you'd think to yourself, how can anybody have a problem with any of that? Am I right? That's what you would wonder. How is that possible? How could you have a problem? Well, because what are we dealing with? You're dealing with folks that they can't look at American Riviera Orchard and say, oh, isn't that beautiful? Isn't that a wonderful thing that's happening? And say, props to Harry and Meghan. Remember, it is in their interest 100% of the time to continue to slander. And by slander, I mean just simply lie about what Harry or Meghan said or did, and simply lie about what Harry or Meghan presents. And for whatever reason, and I can't figure it out because it seems to me that they would make just as much money being positive, but it seems to me that they are making a huge sum of money in the UK tabloid world and in the royal family world. It has become extremely profitable to make all things Harry and Meghan, everything Sussex is horrible, right? Somehow that has become the natural method of operation. It's amazing, but somehow that is how they have been able to operate, right? So that's where we are. You're constantly dealing with life in a battle like that. But there's American Riviera Orchard. I'm going to be referring to that probably in the future as ARO because that's easier. And this is what could be just simply uplifting. It could be simply beneficial for them. And it could simply be the type of work they want to do, right? No worries. But what we need to do, okay, I know, I'm going to need you all to just kind of take a quick breath, right? Breathe in, breathe out. Now, here's what's been really going on in the outward lamb blast, I would say being put on absolute overdrive. Things that people don't want you to remember. You guys, listen. How many of you put a thumbs up in the chat or one in the chat? Let me know. Have you guys ever read the book 1984 by George Orwell? I know we had to read it when we were in high school. So I'm curious to know if all of you here in the chat today, are you familiar with that book? Any of you know what I'm talking about? Do any of you have any idea what I'm talking about there? Okay, so the book 1984 is really okay. Now listen, it is no longer in the 80s, but I'm saying I read this when I was in school. So I want you all to understand the timeline that we had to read it, but this was before 1984 when we had to read it. And it was supposed to present a time when our government was doing nothing but lying and lying and lying. And it outlined various things that the government would do to try to keep we the people in control. So at this particular book, in this storyline, the government, for example, they're controlling what you watch. They control the television and how you see what you see on TV. They talk about the fact that they control even what you read in the newspapers. And they had this awesome method of whatever news was put out, that it would immediately be destroyed so that you wouldn't remember what the news was. So I put that note there that says, things that they don't want you to remember. Because in 1984 in the book, it was key that the people could not keep track of what was happening from day to day. They simply couldn't remember, right? So from day to day, you would have different news stories come out, but they would grind up and incinerate all newspapers and then just print a new fresh story completely different from what they had printed the day before. This was Notorious in 1984. So I hope some of you have read this book, because it is, or at least at that time, now think about this is prior to 1984, but at that time, this was supposed to be a look at what the future was going to look like for us, right? Again, think about that. And then I want you to think for a second how close to reality that prediction came in this book, right? Now, of course, at this time, they would periodically um, change television shows, or they had TV shows that were specifically designed to make you think and believe certain things. And there was always a war going on, and you never knew who the enemy was, right? And I know that when you're consuming news media and things on television today, sometimes you begin to feel just like you are in that dystopian movie. You just can't help yourself, right? Oh, so I'm going to stop and say, good morning, Lorna Murray. Good morning. Thank you for being here. And we also have Henpal. Oh, that's nice. Look, she's saying she enjoys watching our videos. Thank you. Yes, I am on the adult side of the house. I'm sorry about that. I wish I could pretend my age was below that, but there are just some things I cannot hide, right? But yes, I am definitely more on the, let's say, parents of these young folks. So I'm on the parent of section. And that, I think, is why I look at things, or I have the view that I have, because I'm coming at it from that particular perspective, right? But anyway, back to 1984. So if you get a chance and you check out 1984, you begin to understand that even though it's a predictive book and it's somewhat dystopian, unfortunately, it has a real context for how the government operates, how big business operates, and just it gave a glimpse of what the world felt like, or where it felt like it was heading. Now, from my perspective, now remember, I'm coming from the perspective of before 1984. So for me, I am actually watching events that look exactly like the book predicted. So let's look at what we're not supposed to remember. Now, I just wrote a quick list. Now remember, if I get these dates right, I'm not exactly sure, but let's think about this timeline. Remember, originally, the princess was sent in for surgery, and I think they listed like January 16th, somewhere around the middle of January. She was in for surgery, correct? And I don't know if you all recall, but do you know that the headlines and the news outlets at that time, Talk TV, everybody was on every station talking about, they weren't going to say specifically what the surgery was for, but it was some type of abdominal surgery. We're not going to get into specifics, but she's going to heal, she's going to be on the mend, and they just didn't want to be specific about it. So what did most people think, right? Most women immediately thought, okay, something involving, female equipment, right? And so there was no need to dissect. There was no need to even put that out. There was no need to say specifically what it was. As they say, nobody asked for that, right? Okay, but that's the 16th. And then immediately after, we get just a vague medical announcement, right? And that she was going to be doing well. Now, coincidentally, that medical announcement at that same time, because this is between, I'm going to say each day, 15, 16, 17 January, we also got the news that the King Charles, was going to go in and he was going to have a prostate exam. Remember? That's all that was going to be announced. Prostate exam. No big deal, right? What's the big deal? Everybody goes in and gets a prostate exam. Almost every man over age 50. So again, we don't need gory details. We didn't need pictures. Nobody asked for that, right? But This was the prostate exam. So we were all, okay, no problem. Now, it isn't until you're wondering how long these people are going to be in the hospital. It isn't until about 2 weeks passes where you're told she's going to be in the hospital for at least what, 13 days? Then people started to get concerned because they're beginning to wonder, wait a minute, what kind of abdominal surgery would take that long? And number two, what do you mean you're not going to be able to do any work or anything for at least 3 months? People started to worry because this type of information started to spill out around the corners. It was also stressed, and I know that the super sleuths, you guys on YouTube, I love these people. They are going to dig and find every article that was written previously that specifically stated in Kate's case, it was nothing to be seriously alarmed about. It was just a little complication in the surgery. I don't know if you remember that, but I know I remember that, right? Just a little complication in the surgery. Nothing to get yourself all up in a whip about. Okay? Let me ask you guys, do you think they could have announced at that time she's having surgery and we will also be doing a cancer diagnosis just to be sure? Do you think that would have been a problem? Right? Do you think that would have created any type of what I call state problem? Would that have thrown Britain into turmoil? Right? So they had the opportunity between the 15th and the 17th to what? To be honest. They had the opportunity. When King Charles comes out after his prostate treatment or prostate exam, and he's on his way home. Now he steps out the door before getting in the car. He had no problem waving to the cameras. He gets in the car. Queen Camilla gets in the car. They drive off. End of story. But for some reason in Kate's case, she couldn't come out and just wave to the cameras. She couldn't just get in the car, wave out the window, right? For whatever reason, we're supposed to have believed that this was just not possible for Kate. That in order for her, now let's understand, now in order for her to go to the hospital or to be sick and to come home, the fact that a picture would be taken of her or a video would be taken of her coming out, even if she was wheeled out in a wheelchair and waved from the chair. But for whatever reason, if that had happened, it would interfere with her getting better. Right? So this is when in 1984, as you're reading the book, and I'm going to make it 2024, right? Like if I were writing a book. For some reason, your UK media, your tabloids, and your UK royal family talking heads are supposed to say things like that. And somehow we are supposed to say, well, yeah, that makes sense, right? We need to, and I love this, put it in quotation marks, we need to leave her alone so that she can get better. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? How does Kate coming out of a hospital and being seen or filmed getting in a vehicle, how does that affect her healing? What is the relationship between that and her healing? Well, with all of those people who are adults and have common sense, none. You know it is, there's no relationship. Okay? So let's step through that. So then the king comes out, prostate exam finished, waved to the people, got in his car. Great. We didn't see him for a while. The next time you saw him, he's shaking hands with Richie Sunak and talking about how, what it was like to feel better as time has gone on and the wonderful cards that he received, again, on film. Did that affect him getting better? No. But for some reason, during this 2-week period, Kate Middleton can't wave to the cameras, can't be seen just walking along, can't be seen sitting in a chair. None of that, right? None of that could happen. And what we're supposed to believe, right, as if we are, again, as if I'm not pre 1984, okay, that I'm supposed to believe that the reason she is out of sight, even for these intermittent camera shots, is because it's a problem with her healing. Okay, again, stick a pin in that. All right, so we go on through all of this time, and you all have understood. You all have understood what has happened since, let's say, January 26th, somewhere in there. Once the king came out, went to his little house in Sandringham and decided, well, I'll just convalesce there. But guess what? Even in Sandringham, photos and film of the king showing up. But he's healing. So what was the problem with the same happening with Princess Kate? And that's the question that everyone has been asking. That is the question. The question was not anything else. Now, what you did, as far as the UK and Britain is concerned, and the royal, I'm going to say the royal firm, because I think it's more the royal firm that has gotten themselves into this fix than it is the UK media. But let's see. We're going to have to pay attention, because we think these are the same thing, but these are two different applications. Okay? So let's understand. Somehow, the royal firm, i.e., UK media, seems to feel that we were to absorb all these lies, right? How many lies did we need to have? How did these lies that were told help her get better? Explain to me, from the point of view of the royal firm and the UK media, how all of these lies and what I call efforts of misdirection, how did these things improve Kate Middleton's health? But again, if you're young and naive, you're supposed to just absorb what they're saying and somehow translate it into making sense and then move forward from there. So you told lies for 2 months. We were fed 2 months worth of lies. And now I'm supposed to feel that the lies that were told were supposed to be helpful in her getting better. Because now on the talk TV shows and the TV tabloids, we're now supposed to be all up in arms. Everybody, oh my gosh, how many lies did we need to get to this photo right here, or this little film right here, where our wonderful princess is sitting on a bench explaining to us the diagnosis? Once again, we the people did not ask you for your diagnosis. We the people, and I'm not even Britain, I'm talking the world. But in Britain, I'm sure that the folks in Britain did not need your diagnosis. The only thing that people were asking is, why couldn't you simply be seen, right? Waving to the cameras, or driving by in a car, waving behind the window? Why is it that over that period of time, there could not be date, collaboration, video, right? Those things, video, collaboration, and the timestamp to indicate that you were going to go and be on the mend. Why was that so hard, people? I want everybody to, why was that so difficult? And now the UK tabloid media wants to misdirect and try to redirect and talk about everything else but what you see right here, right? Now, with all of this, we're supposed to look at all of this, but guess what we're supposed to do now? Now, people, leave. Okay? Everyone now, now believe what you just saw. Believe. And believe what you just heard, because now it has put it all to rest. Are you kidding me? Now, I know the UK tabloid media, Talk TV, and the royal firm, Talking Heads, I know they believe, they are telling themselves that everything has now been resolved and that Kate has been vindicated. They're telling themselves that now sympathy is pouring out from around the world and everyone is just, so concerned about her health. Okay, that could be true. That could be true. Concern is pouring out. People care. No one really wants to go around and celebrate someone else's illnesses. Except, of course, the UK tabloid media when they're talking about Meghan. Oh, they don't really care about her illnesses. They didn't care about her mental health. Oh, they didn't care about her well-being. They didn't need to, don't even look at Meghan and whether or not she's sick or ill. She's a liar, remember? Okay, but now, okay, here's the page, people. We have a set of lies. Everything you saw on that page was an absolute lie, right? But now we're supposed to look at the center figure, the center presentation, and we're supposed to go, oh yeah, that's it. And now we believe, and everything has been put to rest. And now we're all sad that we saw all these lies. And somehow the media now wants to translate that we saw all these lies. They want to translate that into trolling. Okay? Because now that we've said, you all have been lying, now that's trolling. Okay? So you got to that's what I'm saying, people. Wake up and we got to pay attention. Because what is that about? Now, were there things that people were saying and doing on all these social media applications and making up crazy stories and drawing pictures on people and making people look like something they aren't? Yes. Well, of course they were. And that is a type of comedy and trolling. But does that change the fact that you submitted to me a page full of lies? Does it change the fact that you actually think we believe you now? Ladies and gentlemen, listen. Let's look at what we already know. You took us through 2 months of lies, and now you're going to present us with something that's supposed to be the truth. And we're just supposed to swallow it whole and go, oh, well, forget what we said. No, I'm sorry. All the lies are still there. You all need to figure that out. And then, of course, with her, here are the words we associate. This is in every caption. Oh, we're talking about the bravery of Kate. We're talking about the strength of Kate. We're talking about the resilience of Kate. No, we don't care. The concern is what was with all the lies. When are you going to talk about that? Of course, if we put a wordplay with Meghan, it's always going to be what? She's a narcissist or she's vile. That's their favorite word. You usually see narcissist and then you see vile, right? Or some newscasters have just simply resorted to, ugh, right? Especially my favorite wig wearing woman, right? She just comes on and huffs, oh, whatever that's supposed to mean. And then somehow in the sentence, the word vile is going to come up, right? Or the word narcissist is going to come up. But now we're supposed to take someone who is going through some real trauma, some real medical tribulations, perhaps the details of which we may never know, but we're supposed to take that now. That's now truth because we're supposed to be sad. That means now it's supposed to be true, right? It's sad, so it must be true. I'm going to encourage each of you, and I'm going to tell you, just like this past week was filled with a lot of action, I guarantee you this week coming up is going to be filled with a lot of action as well. And I tell you, these people think that they have solved the problem, that they have quelled the gossip. They think they have stopped the trolls. They have no idea what they are talking about. They have no idea what they are dealing with. In this online world and in this online space, there are people that are so detailed that if there is even a hint of deception, they will dig it out. And again, what I want to point out is this entire fiasco that has been going on since the end of January, it did not get resolved because she stepped forward and said she has cancer. If anything, this only begs more questions. Why are you sitting on a bench by yourself talking about the togetherness of your family? You know, why is that? Anyway, this is not going to end. It's going to continue. As a matter of fact, unbeknownst to the people who are playing this game, it's going to probably become even more intense. Right? But they think this is going to stop all the discussions. They think that we have now ended everything because we said the C word. And now it's all over. I think they are going to be sadly mistaken. So you all stick with me. We got one more week. And I think it's going to be a lot that will transpire over the next week that will create either another smoke screen or may clarify a few pieces of information. Anyway, so now we're going to switch gears. All right, I'm about to wrap it up, guys. I know it was wow, we got through pretty quick. I can't believe it. So I'm going to say again, good morning to the people who are chiming in. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate your coming here, and I'm trying my best to try to get to the next level, next layer, and I am having a heck of a time. I don't know why, but it's just giving me problems. So also remember, like, share, and subscribe. I see that there's some notes here. I'm just going to read real quick, and then we're going to laugh at what I see. So, she says the bench is a carbon copy of the bench that Megan was sitting on. You know, I did hear someone talking about the bench itself, and I can't remember if that was that when Megan and Harry were talking about something they were going to be doing while they were in England? I'm assuming that's out like near her house or whatever. And oh yes. So I want to thank you for that comment. I really do, because it's really weird. Oh, that's Joanne Baker. Oh, I'm sorry. Who am I looking at now? Oh, this is Joanne Baker, who was saying, yeah, there was an oncology interview with the doctor on CNN saying, okay, I didn't want to say it. I wasn't going to bring that up because, again, that's going to be just the start. That's going to be the start. It's already something doesn't sound right, right? That's what they're saying. Thank you so much, Joanne Baker. I heard that on CNN with Anderson Cooper. Oh, and thank you again for the previous comment, Joyce Anderson. Thank you. Yeah, we got to figure out where that was, but I think that's in one of those yards at the palace out there. Yeah, I'm not sure. Okay, so as I'm struggling here, people, look, I'm struggle streaming. But yes, I did see that on CNN. Very odd. Let's see who this is. So LLAA, she says, it's very, very odd. People get sick. It's okay. It was just so outlandish for them to sneak around, lie, and submit fakes. Yeah, this is the key. This is the key. Because she has come forward and basically said, okay, here's the problem, and I actually had cancer. The key is, did that change did that change the fact that all these lies were proliferated? No. And that's where they're going to try to keep your attention from that. Every time you ask the questions, oh, okay, so why the lies? They're going to go back to, but she's sick and she's got to get better. We need to leave her alone. But that's not the questions that's being asked. No, again, no one is asking, hey, Kate, what kind of surgery did you have? Did you have this kind of surgery? Well, who was your doctor? What was he doing? I'm not asking that. I'm just still stuck on who was telling all these lies and why. That's where I'm stuck. So that's what they're going to have to deal with. And I don't think they're ready for that. I really don't. I think they believe this is just going to go away. That's what they think. And it's not. It's not going to go anywhere. So before I go, you know how I always like to pitch to you guys some of my favorite texts or readings that I do. And again, I have to caution you. This is a caution. I have to let you know, no, I am not going to bury you in some sort of religious dogma or try to convert you, but it's just something that I enjoy. Sometimes I read something and it kind of strikes me and I find it fun. And I think, you know what, I'm going to share that with some people. Maybe they'll like it. So where I encourage you all, Proverbs is one of my favorite books of the Bible because it took me years to be able to read through Proverbs. And I have to say, unfortunately, I was one of those people that was brought up reading King James version of the Bible. So that is what I'm used to, right? It makes sense to me. And I loved British literature and I studied, Chaucer and I studied Shakespeare. Okay, so I'm bragging about my skill set. But anyway, Proverbs has always been fun for me. And I love to sometimes dig things out of Proverbs. It took me a while. It took me several years before I got to the point where I could read through Proverbs and find things that were actually funny. But this is something I thought you all would appreciate. And this is the description of a virtuous woman, right? Because when I think of virtuous women, I think of the characteristics that a woman would have that fit in this feature here in Proverbs. This is Proverbs chapter 31. Proverbs 31, and starting at verse 10. And they talk about some of the features and the attributes that are considered virtuous for a woman to have. Like, they describe her as being very, very valuable, right? Her price would be above rubies. She's a valuable woman. And that the heart of her husband is safely entrusted with her, right? And that she doesn't have a need to spoil it. He can trust her, and she is going to be a wonderful trust in his heart, right? And that she will do him good, and she's not going to do him ill in the days of her life. In other words, as a wife, and of course they're speaking virtuous woman, but it's kind of a lot of leanings toward wives, right? Is that in the time of her life, she's not going to be doing things to just ruin him, right? That's not her goal. And I love that they go on and they talk about how she goes out and she tries to get wool and she gets flax and she starts to work things with her hands. These women, I love them. They crochet, they knit, they do, they make crafts. They do wonderful things. They do art. And then she is very good with merchants. She knows how to go and shop, and she goes to get food when she goes to the shop, and she might get things from a long ways away. She knows what to buy. And they say that usually she gets up at night. She's up late at night or she's up early in the morning because she's bringing food to the household before people get up out of bed. Now think about that. Isn't that wonderful? Now, I'm not going to read all of these attributes to you. I'm going to let you read through them. But basically, she might go out in the field and she might help work in the field, and she buys things, she trades, right? She might plant a vineyard, right? And then on down the line, and I want you to look through all those other wonderful things that she does. She helps poor people. And then her husband is well known and among people because she is well known and she's an honorable woman, right? And then they said that when she opens her mouth, it's with wisdom. Wisdom is in her tongue, and she has a law of kindness, right? And that she looks well to the ways of her household. And she doesn't sit around idle. In other words, she doesn't sit around basically doing nothing, hoping to gain. And that she gets her children up. They're all blessed because of her. And that her daughters are doing virtuously because of her, right? She's virtuous, so her daughters are virtuous. And that she has favor, um, and she's beautiful, but she's not vain. Because they say, people who pretend to like people, pretend to do things, she doesn't do that. But that she's a woman that fears the Lord and she should be praised. So they say, give her of the fruit of her hands and let her work be praised at her gates. Now, I want you all to read all of that because it's really a really entertaining thing and very inspiring. And when I read these things, I want you to know the character of the person that I think about is Megan. Now, I don't know, I'm not praising her and trying to put her up on a pedestal, but when I think of these attributes, I think of Megan as a wife and mother at this time, especially going through some of the challenges that she's going through. Did that exclude Kate? No, because there's no need to compare and contrast and make one a villain. Because it's very, very possible, given this situation, that both of them are being somewhat trapped in a situation beyond their control. And that is because it could be due to the royal firm and the way it's organized and the UK media tabloids as well. So I think we need to keep that in mind. But when you think of a virtuous woman and many of the characteristics and attributes, I know I think of Megan. And I just wanted to put that out there. So, ladies and gentlemen, everyone who was able to come and join me in the chat, thank you, thank you, thank you for being here. I am so glad that you were here to join me this morning, and I plan to do this again next week. We are definitely going to have to bounce out. Thank you so much, and leave some wonderful, wonderful comments in the chat. I'll try to get to them.